How many of you grew up in church? By a show of hands, you grew up in church. I did too. And one of the things that I heard over and over again, and I want to see if this is something that you heard too, is God has a purpose for your life. It's an amazing thing to hear that God, the creator of everything, has a purpose, a plan, and a destiny for your life. And if you preach it good, you can get people shouting about that. But for me, anytime I heard that, I was like, okay, but what is it? And maybe you've asked that question too, like, what is my purpose? How does purpose work? How do I activate that thing? Like if it's in there, how do I activate it? Is there like a button I push? Is there a prayer I pray? What do I do to activate my purpose? And it's kind of like this. 11 years ago, my wife and I were moving homes, and we had packed everything up. And one of the things that we wanted to take with us was our refrigerator. Now, you need to know, to this point of the story, I had never connected nor had I ever disconnected a refrigerator. But I was like, I can do this. Like, how difficult is it to move a refrigerator? So I go and I roll it out of its place and I unplug it from the wall. But then there's like this little copper line running to it. Y'all know the one I'm talking about? What'd you say? Water. I figured that out. Because what happened was, as soon as I disconnected it, water started going everywhere, and I had no idea what to do. And so in my panicked state, I plugged the water line with my hand, and then I called someone with my free hand and said, hey, I just disconnected the water to my refrigerator, and it's spraying everywhere. And here's what they told me. Turn it off. I was like, I know. Listen, I'm not the smartest person in the room. But at this point, I've already realized it needs to be turned off. The reason I'm calling you is because I don't know how to turn it off. I think that's how a lot of people are with purpose. They believe God has a purpose for their life. They just don't know what it is or how it works. So for the next few weeks, we are going to be talking about how purpose works. And every week we're going to be building. So it's important. Like, this is not one of those things like you come today and you're going to leave knowing everything. This is one of those things like every week it's important that you get the information, because every step we take is leading us somewhere. Turn to the person next to you, say every step. So there are three words that I want to familiarize you with, because we're going to be dealing with these three words a lot throughout this next month. They are identity, purpose, and assignment. Somebody say identity, purpose, and assignment. So your identity is who you are. Your purpose is why you are here. Your assignment is what you are supposed to do. And it's important that you understand these three things, and I'll tell you why. When I was in kindergarten, we had these things. I don't know if they're still legal to have in schools, because this in the hand of a kindergartner can become a weapon of mass destruction, I promise you. I know this firsthand because when I was a kid, me and my friends decided we wanted to stack these things as high as we possibly could to see how high we could get. And one day we were making some amazing headway. We got this thing so high that I promise if it would have kept going, God probably would have showed up and confused our languages, because we would have ascended to the heavens. That's how amazing this thing was, until it fell down. And as it toppled over, one of the blocks cracked my friend's head open, and he's gushing blood. Do you know why it fell? It fell because we didn't have the right foundation. See, if you're going to build your life, you have to start with the right foundation. That's why we're talking about identity, purpose, and assignment, because that is the foundation that will help you build a life that will stand. I want to start by talking about identity. This is who you are. And maybe you've asked that question, who am I? Whenever I think about that, I think about the movie Zoolander. Y'all remember that when he walks outside and he looks in the puddle of water and he goes, who am I? And then the puddle responds, I don't know. I don't think most of us wrestle with that question. I mean, I think most of you, if I were to ask you, who are you, most of you would come up with an answer. But here's what I've realized. A lot of times the answer we come up with is not the right answer. Hello? When I say, who are you, many times our first response would be something like this. I'm Aram, and I am the pastor of Activation Church. And it's true, my name is Aram. And pastoring Activation Church is one of the things that I do. But it's an important thing to know that that is not who I am. That is simply what I do. Some people will identify with their struggles or something that they've been through. If you ask them, who are you? They'll begin to tell you the story of their life and the challenges that they've gone through. And they'll either come to the conclusion that they are a victim, or they'll even come to the conclusion that they're victorious. And they'll quote scriptures like, I am more than a conqueror. And that's awesome and that's true, but that is not who you are. That is just what you have been through. I talk to people all the time who have wrestled with addiction, and that's a real thing, and it's a daily fight, and I'm not taking anything away from you. But you need to know that your addiction that you fight on a daily basis is not who you are. That is just something that you are dealing with. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Sometimes we'll say things like, well, I'm a Christian. I'm a CH. I'm a CH. I'm a CHRISTIN, and I've got Jesus. Yeah, I don't even know the rest of the song. But we'll say something like, I'm a Christian, or I'm affiliated with this political party. And what you need to know is, that is not who you are. That's just what you believe. It's important for us to understand this, and here's why. A lot of the things that I just mentioned are subject to change. So if my identity is connected to the wrong thing, then when that thing changes, I lose who I am. For instance, if my identity is the pastor of Activation Church, that's who I am, then what's going to happen one day if I'm no longer pastoring this church? Because there will come a season that I am no longer the lead pastor of this church. And so if everything I have has been attached to what I do, then if that changes, then who am I? I've seen it happen in so many people's lives where a situation in their life changes and they've attached who they are to that, and when that shifts, they feel lost. Maybe some of you have experienced that, like you were so attached to being a father or a mother that now your kids are gone and you're like, who am I? Like, what am I here for now? If we want to understand who we are, which is important, because if you don't understand who you are, you'll never understand what you are supposed to do or why you're here. So this is foundation. Somebody said this is foundation. This one's key. If you want to know who you are, you have to go to the one who designed you. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to just shout out your answer. What am I holding up in my hand? What? Okay. So when this was created, it was designed by a man named Steve Jobs, Apple. And when he was asked what this is, did you know he did not say it is a phone? He did not say it is a music player. He did not label it a pocket computer, although It does all of those things. Like when you said it's a phone, like absolutely, I can make and receive phone calls. I can play music on this thing. I can use it as a personal computer. It does all of those things, but that's not how he labeled it. He said, this is a revolutionary product. See, its identity is not determined in what it does. Let me show you this in Genesis, the first chapter. Verse 26. The Bible says, let us make man in what? Our image, after our likeness. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on earth. Verse 27, so God created, let's stop right there. God created you, and how many of you know God does not do anything on accident? If he did it, he had a plan and intention behind it. So one of the lies that we believe about ourselves is that we are an accident. Some of you feel like you are an oops moment, that mom and dad got together, they were having a good time, and boom, here I am. And that may be their story, but that is not your story. God made a decision to make you. He created you, he designed you, and then he said, let's do this and give them my image. Do you know that word image there? It's the same exact word used in the Ten Commandments when God says, don't make any idols. Don't make any images. Why? Because I've already done that. I've already placed my image on this earth. There's no reason to make or do anything else. He says, let us make man in our own image. So what did he do? He created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female, he created them. There it is. You are a revolutionary product. You are the image of God. So when someone says, who are you? Your accurate response should be, I am the image of God. And here's the thing, nothing can change that. It's not something you did, you did nothing to earn that. There's nothing that you can do to achieve that. It's something that you have to receive. And if I am the image of God, that means my life carries worth and value. I'm not a nobody. I'm a somebody because of who made me. Listen, the Bible says before God formed you in the womb, he knew you. And he had a plan for your life. That's something that you have to remind yourself of. And here's why it's important that you know that and that you remind yourself of that. This is huge because one of the first things that the enemy is going to attack is your identity. Think about this. If you just go 2 chapters forward in the story of the Bible, from Genesis 1, we're in Genesis 3 now. And Satan comes to Adam and Eve, and he says, why don't you just eat from that tree? And they said, oh, that's the no-no tree, man. And he said, oh, man, it's not really the no-no tree. God doesn't want you. God doesn't want you to eat from that tree because he knows that when you do, you are going to become like him. Who were they already like? Him. So he gets them to a question who they are and prove who they are by doing something on their own. It's the same thing he does to Jesus when he comes to tempt him in the wilderness. He says, if you are the Son of God, prove it. If you belong to God, prove it. Show your worth. Show your value. And that's what he does to us. He gets us to question, well, maybe I'm not as valuable as others say that I am. Maybe there's something I've got to do to prove this. Maybe there's something I've got to work out so that I can achieve this. So what happens is we get caught up in this rat race of do more, work harder, change this, let go of that, because maybe if I just do the right things and look the right way, then maybe I will belong. And here's the thing. If he can distort your identity, he can disrupt your purpose. I need to say that again. If he can distort your identity, he can disrupt your purpose. That's why we've got to start with this one word, identity. We can't just jump straight into what you are here for and what you're supposed to do. We have to start with, this is who I am. Because who I am has nothing to do with what I accomplish. But some people, they attach their identity to what they can accomplish. There's nothing wrong with striving for excellence in life, but you really have to question, why am I so driven to be excellent? Because if it is there because it makes me feel better about myself or it makes me feel appreciated, then maybe you need to question, where have I attached my identity? You've got to know. Turn to the person next to you. You've got to know who you are. I have a friend, he's a pastor. He recently told me this. He said, every morning at 6 a.m., I send myself a text. It's automated, so that every day at 6 a.m., he gets a text that comes to his phone, and here's what this text says. You are a child of God. He loves you, and he's got an amazing plan for your life. Why does he do that every single day? Because every single day the enemy is going to try to tell you a different story. And I've learned this in life. There will never come a time in your life that the enemy will stop lying to you. You want to know why? Because he is the father of lies. That's what the Bible says. He is the father of lies. When he opens his mouth, it is a lie, and those lies will continually come. You've just got to learn how to deal with them when they get there. My kids got involved in cheer. Anybody got kids that did cheer? God bless you. Some of you are way further in the game than I was. Nobody told me how much money or time that was going to take. And I don't mind the money part as much as I do the time part, because my wife pays for it. But the time part is, that's kind of a split deal. I've got to do practices, and these practices are like 4 nights a week for 2 hours. So just so that they can learn this. I've got spirit. Yes, I do. I've got spirit. How about you? And I'm thinking in my mind, are you kidding me? 4 nights a week for 2 hours? Now, I get like once you get to the place where you're doing stunts and flips, that's a different thing. But I'm talking about little kindergarten sideline cheer 4 nights a week for 2 hours. Has nothing to do with the sermon, but it makes me feel better to get that off my chest. Here's what does have to do with the sermon. One night we're at practice, and my daughter came running to the truck because she had been attacked by ants. And so her foot was all bitten up, and apparently the field that they were practicing in was infested. And so what they did was they decided we're going to move our practice to a different field. And so they moved to a place that was a lot more inconvenient to get to than the other place. And when I say inconvenient, what I mean is it was nowhere near the concession stand. And I'm just not in for that, Like, I like being near the snacks. And so they moved this practice because of the ants. And I was thinking, like, you don't have to rearrange your entire life because of ants. All you have to do is kill them. And right now you're looking at me like, what the heck is he talking about? I'm talking about ants. Automatic negative thoughts. We all have them. And you do not have to rearrange your life because of the automatic negative thoughts. All you have to do is learn how to kill them. How? By knowing the truth. See, if he is a liar and he's going to tell me lies, then all I have to do is when I have a thought, listen, you need to start practicing this. When you have a thought about your life or your situation, you need to ask, who is saying that? Is it me? Is it my imagination? Is it the enemy? Or is it God? And if you are hearing that you are worthless, that you are unloved, that you don't have any value, that you don't belong, that you'll never make it, that this is it, if you're hearing that this situation will be the last situation, I promise you, you are not hearing the voice of God. You are hearing the voice of the enemy who is trying to destroy your purpose. So how do we deal with this? Watch this. 2 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, verse 4. The Bible says this, for the weapons of our warfare. Now let's just stop there. The Bible is admitting to us that we will encounter some war. If you have heard someone preach that as soon as you give your life to Christ, everything's going to be sunshine and roses, that if you do the right thing, then bad things will never happen to you, you have been lied to. That's not in the Bible. Bad things happen, yes, to even people who consider themselves good. Bad things happen to those who are doing the right thing. Why? Because you are in a battle. What is that battle? It is for your purpose because he wants to pull you off of assignment. So he's not just going to let you float through this life doing whatever you want to do. He's coming after you. So God says, I've given you some weapons too. But these weapons of your warfare, they're not of the flesh. They have divine power. That means God-given power. For what? To destroy strongholds. What's a stronghold? A stronghold is something built to contain your life. It could be wrong thinking. It could be a lie that you've bought into. And what's happened is a stronghold has been built around you, and you never live beyond the parameters of what you think and believe. Can I just say that again? You'll never live beyond the parameters of what you think and believe. Some of you are stuck in the same cycle that you've been stuck in for years, not because there's not a way out, but because the way you see, think, or perceive the situation that you're in. It's become a stronghold. And the only way to bring that stronghold down is by injecting it with truth. Jesus says, you will know the truth. And what's that truth going to do? It's going to set you free. The truth brings down the stronghold of the lie. So where is this thought coming from? If it is not from God, then I've got to bring it down. He goes on to say in verse 5, we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God. That means anything that resists God's truth, we take every thought captive and make it obey Christ. That's a daily decision. Maybe not for you. Let me just tell you. For me, it is a daily decision. It is a daily thing that I have to wake up and make up my mind that I am a child of God that is loved by God, that he's got a plan for my life no matter what I'm going through. And nothing is going to pull me off of my assignment. The reason I'm hobbling around and sitting right now is last Sunday I slipped on a boat ramp, hit some algae, messed up my foot pretty good. I've been off of it most of the week. Was laying in bed, using crutches, that kind of stuff. Past couple of days I've been using a boot. But I woke up this morning, I was like, screw that, man. I'm going and I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I'm not going to allow anything to interfere with who God has called me to be. Are you following what I'm saying? So you got to get to this place where you pull those things down, those negative thoughts. You got to pull them down. Then watch what this says in Proverbs, the 4th chapter, verse 23. Above all else. Now let's just stop right there. If I say above all else, I'm giving that some priority. Am I right? Y'all came to the second service today. Which you should be thankful that you came to the second service, because the first service, we lost power. And so Randy led worship with the acoustic, which it was amazing. But we lost power. And I was telling Brandon, who runs our audio here, I said, if I told you, Brandon, after this service, there are some things that we need to do to set up for the second service. We need to make sure the chairs are straight. We need to make sure that the trash cans aren't overflowing. We need to make sure that the restrooms are presentable. But above all else, we need to make sure the sound is working. What does that mean? That means before you touch a chair, before you check the trash, before you check the restroom, make sure the sound is working. Are y'all following me? Are y'all breathing this morning? Do you have life in your body? Okay, I'm just making sure. Above all else, watch what he says. This is what you're supposed to do above all else. Guard your heart. When the Bible talks about our heart, it's not talking about the flesh organ inside your chest. It's talking about the command center of your life. Your mind, your will, and your emotions. He's saying you've got to guard that. Why do I have to guard that? Because the enemy is always going to try to plant something in there. And if I allow the wrong seed to hit the command center of my life, it is going to begin to grow. And if I allow the wrong thing to grow, it's going to produce the wrong result in my life. Does that make sense to you? So he says, guard your heart above all else. Why? For everything you do. Get this. Everything you do flows from it. What that means is everything you do currently is because of something you've allowed to get into the command center of your life. All the problems, the struggles, the addictions, it started somewhere by allowing the wrong type of thinking to get into your life. And here's the thing, if we can get the thinking right, then the results will follow. So many times we think I got to fix the result. I got to fix the result. No, you don't have to fix the result. Fix your thinking. See, you keep on bouncing from relationship to relationship because you're lonely and you crave attention and affection because maybe growing up you didn't get attention and affection from your parents, and so you crave it. The problem is you're not going to the right source, and sometimes you find it from the wrong place, and it's a bad thing. So I've got to learn how to guard my heart. I've got to get everything right because from it flows the issues of life. Wrong thinking will produce wrong living. I want to allow that to settle in for a moment. Wrong thinking will produce wrong living. Wrong, this is important. I must say it a third time because you need to hear this. Wrong thinking will produce wrong living. There was a guy back in the late 1800s. He decided that he was going to move to the United States to make a better life for his family. And so he saved up everything that he had to buy a ticket to get on a boat to bring him to the United States. He told his wife and kids, he said, I'm going to work a little bit, I'm going to save up, then I'll send for you. And so he took everything that he had to buy this ticket, and then he had a few cents left over, and he used that to buy a box of crackers and a wheel of cheese. And the reason he bought the crackers and the cheese is because he didn't have enough money to pay for the food on the boat. So every day, while everyone's in the dining hall, laughing, enjoying themselves, eating off the buffet, I don't think they had the ice cream machine back then, but if they did, that would be amazing. Every day he's looking through the window at everyone else enjoying their life, and he's sitting there eating crackers and cheese. This journey took a long time. It's not like today where you just hop on a plane and you're a few hours. This is like a long journey. So days go by, crackers and cheese, crackers and cheese, crackers and cheese, until one day the crackers start getting stale and the cheese starts growing mold. But that's all he has to eat. So that's what he does. On the final day of the journey, he stepped out on the balcony because he wanted to see the boat as it pulled in to Ellis Island. He wanted to see the Statue of Liberty. And I don't know if you've ever seen the Statue of Liberty from the perspective of a boat, but it's amazing. One time we went on a cruise with my family, and as we were pulling into port in New York, I went out on the balcony and watched because my family's immigrants. And I thought, man, I want to see what it was like for them. And that's what he's doing. Like, this is the land of freedom. This is the place of opportunity. So he steps out there to look, and one of the stewards comes up to him and says, "Sir, did we do something to offend you?" And the guy says, "No, why would you say that?" He said, "Well, every day when everyone gathered together in the dining hall, you never showed up." And the guy said, "Oh, well, I only had enough money to buy a ticket and I didn't have enough for food, so, I brought some cheese and crackers with me." And the steward said to him, "Sir, your ticket was all inclusive. Every meal on this boat has already been paid for." See, if you don't know what God has given you, then you'll live like you never got it. It does not mean that it does not exist. It just means you're not aware of it. So if you don't know that he's called you into his family, that he's made you a dear and loved child, then you're going to live as someone who feels disconnected. You're going to live like you've always got to fight for your seat at the table. We raised dogs, and when the pups would go to get milk from the mama, we had a runt, and this runt had to fight just to get a sip. And if we weren't there sometimes to help the little runt, it would not have gotten anything. And sometimes that's how we live. We feel like we've got to fight and scrimp and scrape and accomplish and do all this stuff just so we can earn our seat at the table. And God's saying, it doesn't work that way in my family. You have the seat at the table. The moment I spoke you into existence, you belong to me. But if you don't know that, you're always going to be going to the wrong source to satisfy a good need. See, what I mean by that is, it's good to want to feel love. It's good to want to feel accepted. All of the deep needs that you have in your life, those were placed there by God. We just got to know where the source is. Let me show you this. When I saw this passage, it hit me between the eyes. Jeremiah 2:13. Here's why this affected me so much. Because I've done this so many times in my life. And I'm willing to bet many of you in here, if you'll be honest with yourself, you'll say you've done it too. Some of you are still doing it today. God says, my people have committed two evils. Here's what they are. One, they've forsaken me. It means they've turned their back on me. They've forgotten me. The fountain of living waters. God's saying, I am the fountain of living waters, and they have forsaken me. They've turned their back on me. And so many times we tend to do that to God. We turn our back on him. Maybe we get mad because we're going through something that we don't think it's fair, and we turn our back on him. But then he says this, you didn't just turn your back on me, you decided to hew out cisterns for yourself. But here's the problem. They're broken cisterns that can't hold any water. What God is saying is you've gone to the wrong source looking for what you desire. You need water, and you've got this thing. It can't even hold water. It's broken. It's a broken system. It's a broken thing. And we do that all the time. And then Jesus, in the book of John, he says, come to me. If you're thirsty, come to me. It's not wrong to be thirsty. It's wrong to go to the wrong source thinking that it's going to satisfy your thirst, because it never will. And that is actually the story of the woman at the well. If you know that story in John the 4th chapter, it's a woman who's sitting by a well, and Jesus says to her, hey, if you get your water from this well, you're going to be thirsty again. Then he goes further and he says, you've been married 5 times, and the guy you're living with now is not your husband. And that strikes a nerve. And what he's trying to tell her is, you've been trying to fix your brokenness through relationships. That's her. What's your story? How are you trying to fix your brokenness? Or how are you trying to fill the thing that you feel like you're lacking? And he's letting her know, you can keep on going to that, but you're always going to remain thirsty. But if you'll come to me, I will give you water that will last. I will actually refresh your soul. And that's the invitation for all of us today, is to come and to say, I'm not going to try to earn or fight or do any of these things to feel accepted anymore, because now I know that I am accepted, that I am loved, and that I do belong. And it doesn't matter what I've been through. It doesn't matter what I've done. It does not change who I am. And that's the one thing you need to hear today. What you have done does not change who you are. The image has just been distorted. But Christ came to repair the image that was broken in your life, so that now you live as a child of God who is loved by God and is confident in the fact that he has a plan for your life. That's your identity. That is who you are. Next week, we're going to start getting into your purpose and your assignment. I don't have time for that today. You've got to understand who you are first. Because if you don't get this right, nothing else will be right. And I want to encourage you, come back next Sunday, bring somebody with you, because this is going to be a life-changing series. This is one of those series that I haven't had to study. This is something that I lived out. This is one that I've learned from experience. I've learned how purpose works. And what you're going to find is it's not that mysterious. Once you understand who you are, everything else will start to flow from there. Thank you so much for joining us today on Activation Church Online. I hope that message has encouraged you and challenged you to go further than ever before. Before you leave our channel, please take an opportunity to subscribe and check out all of the amazing resources that we've made available to you. I cannot wait until next Sunday when you and I can get together again and share the Word of God.